Arthur, a man whose hands told tales of time etched deep, shuffled into Miller's grocery. The automatic doors whispered open, granting him entry into a world of brightly lit aisles and the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread. His cane, a trusty companion, tapped a gentle rhythm against the linoleum floor. He moved slowly, deliberately, each step a testament to his age, each breath a quiet acknowledgement of the passage of years. He wore a faded blue jacket, its pockets holding secrets of a life lived fully. His eyes, though clouded with age, held a spark of kindness, a gentle warmth that spoke of a generous heart. He was a familiar face in the neighborhood, a man of routine and quiet dignity. Today, like most days, he was simply there to pick up a few essentials, a loaf of bread, perhaps some milk, and maybe a small treat for himself. He was looking for a specific type of cookie, his favorite, for an after-dinner snack. Little did he know, his peaceful routine was about to be disrupted. Across the store, near the entrance, stood a young man named Kevin. He was the new security guard, fresh out of training and eager to prove his worth. Kevin took his job very seriously. He saw himself as a protector, a shield against any potential wrongdoing. He scanned the shoppers, his eyes sharp and observant, searching for any sign of trouble. He noticed Arthur immediately. The elderly man's slow gait and the way he leaned heavily on his cane raised Kevin's suspicion. In his mind, anyone who moved that cautiously must be trying to hide something. He watched Arthur intently, his gaze unwavering, his hand instinctively reaching for his radio. Kevin thought Arthur was taking too long to decide on a product. He focused on Arthur. To Kevin, Arthur's every movement seemed suspicious, as if he were casing the store, planning something. Arthur finally located the cookies he was searching for, stacked high on a display near the end of an aisle. They were on the top shelf, just out of easy reach. He stretched, his arm trembling slightly with the effort. He reached with his cane, hoping to nudge the box closer, but his aim was off. Instead, the cane bumped the entire display. Boxes of small candies and chocolates tumbled to the floor with a clatter. A few rolled under shelves, disappearing from sight. Arthur gasped, startled and embarrassed. He bent down, his joints protesting with a chorus of creaks and pops, trying to gather the scattered boxes. "Oh dear," he muttered, "I didn't mean to do that." He was mortified, his cheeks flushing with a mixture of shame and frustration. The noise echoed through the store, drawing even more attention to him. He struggled to pick them up. Kevin, seeing the boxes fall, immediately jumped to a conclusion. His suspicions were confirmed, in his mind. He believed Arthur had deliberately knocked over the display to steal the items. Without hesitation, he rushed towards Arthur, his voice booming across the aisle. "Hey! You! Stop right there!" Arthur, startled by the sudden shout, looked up, his eyes wide with confusion. He hadn't even managed to gather more than a couple of boxes. I just slipped," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I didn't mean to." Kevin ignored Arthur's explanation. "Don't give me that," he said, his voice hard. "I saw you. You were trying to steal those candies." He pointed an accusing finger at the scattered boxes on the floor. "Pick them up and come with me." Kevin's heart was pounding. He felt like he was doing a good job. He was sure the manager would praise him. He felt so good that he had caught a thief. The sound of Kevin's raised voice echoed through the store, silencing the usual hum of conversation. Shoppers paused, their heads turning to see what the commotion was about. All eyes focused on Arthur, who was now struggling to stand, his face a mask of humiliation. He felt a hot wave of shame wash over him. "I told you, young man," Arthur said, his voice barely a whisper, "it was an accident. I would never steal anything." He clutched his cane tightly, his knuckles white. But Kevin was relentless. He stepped closer to Arthur, his presence looming. "I don't believe you," he said, his voice unwavering. "Now, pick up those candies and let's go to the office." He gestured towards the back of the store with a stern look. A small crowd began to gather, whispering amongst themselves. Some looked at Arthur with suspicion, while others seemed unsure, sensing that something wasn't right. Arthur was completely mortified. He wished the ground would swallow him whole. He was being accused of something he didn't do. Arthur stood his ground, his frail body trembling with a mixture of anger and indignation. "I will not go to any office," he declared, his voice gaining a little strength. "I have done nothing wrong." Kevin, frustrated by Arthur's resistance, decided to escalate the situation. "Fine," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Then I'll just have to search your bag right here." He reached for Arthur's worn canvas bag, which hung from his shoulder. "No. You can't do that," Arthur protested, pulling the bag closer to his chest. "That's private." He felt violated, his personal space invaded. But Kevin was determined to prove his suspicions. He grabbed the bag firmly, ignoring Arthur's pleas. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the young security guard wrestled with the elderly man over his bag. Some shoppers started to murmur in disapproval. They thought the security guard was going too far. They thought he was treating the elderly man unfairly. The situation was getting out of hand. With a final tug, Kevin managed to wrest the bag from Arthur's grasp. He held it triumphantly, ready to expose the stolen candies. He opened the bag with a flourish, expecting to find evidence of Arthur's supposed crime. But instead of stolen goods, Kevin's eyes widened in surprise. The first thing he saw was a neatly folded American flag. It was old and slightly faded, but still held its dignity. Beneath the flag was a small, worn leather case. It looked official, like something important was inside. Kevin hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. This wasn't what he expected. Where were the candies? He reached into the bag again, feeling around for anything else. There was a small, well-worn book of poems, and a pair of reading glasses in a simple case. Nothing else. No stolen goods. Kevin started to feel unsure. He wondered if he had made a mistake. The crowd watched intently, waiting to see what Kevin would do next. The atmosphere in the store was thick with anticipation. As Kevin stared at the leather case, a woman in the crowd spoke up. "That looks like a medal case," she said, her voice clear and steady. "My father was a veteran, and he had one just like it. It probably holds his medals." A hush fell over the crowd as everyone realized the significance of the discovery. The woman continued, "Those cases are usually given to soldiers who did something very brave or important for their country." She looked at Arthur with newfound respect. Kevin's face paled. He slowly picked up the leather case, his hands trembling slightly. He suddenly felt very small and foolish. He understood that he had made a terrible mistake, judging Arthur based on appearances and assumptions. He wondered what kind of medals were in the case. He was starting to feel ashamed of himself. He realized that he had wrongly accused an elderly man who was probably a hero. He felt terrible. A wave of regret washed over Kevin, heavier than any he had ever felt before. His eagerness to prove himself had blinded him to the truth. He had been so focused on finding a thief that he had completely disregarded the possibility that Arthur was simply an elderly man who needed a little extra time and understanding. He looked at Arthur, who stood silently, his eyes downcast, his shoulders slumped with weariness. Kevin could only imagine the pain and humiliation he must be feeling. He had not only accused him of stealing, but he had also publicly violated his privacy and dignity. Kevin realized the enormity of his mistake. He had let his eagerness get the better of him, and in doing so, he had treated an innocent man with disrespect and suspicion. The weight of his actions pressed down on him. He knew he had to do something to make amends, but he wasn't sure where to start. He was mortified by his behavior. He wanted to disappear. Taking a deep breath, Kevin stepped towards Arthur, his voice filled with sincerity. "Sir," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I am so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I shouldn't have accused you like that. It was wrong of me." He handed Arthur back his bag, his eyes filled with genuine remorse. "I was just trying to do my job," Kevin continued, "but I let my eagerness get the better of me. I judged you unfairly, and I am truly sorry for the embarrassment and humiliation I caused you." He paused, searching for the right words. I understand if you don't want to accept my apology, but I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Kevin felt like he was going to cry. He had never felt so bad in his life. He hoped Arthur would understand. He wanted to make things right. He hated that he had caused so much trouble. Arthur looked at Kevin, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and understanding. He saw the genuine remorse in the young man's face and the sincerity in his apology. He knew that Kevin had made a mistake, but he also recognized that he was truly sorry. After a moment of silence, Arthur spoke, his voice soft but firm. I understand, young man, he said. Everyone makes mistakes. I appreciate your apology. He paused, then added, yes, I was in the Korean War. These medals are a reminder of my time there. He gestured towards the leather case in his bag. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Several shoppers started to clap softly, expressing their support for Arthur and their approval of Kevin's apology. Arthur felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of acceptance and understanding that eased the pain of the earlier humiliation. He smiled gently at Kevin. He could see Kevin's shoulders relax. He knew Kevin had learned a valuable lesson. Just then, Mr. Miller, the store manager, arrived, having been alerted to the commotion. He pushed his way through the crowd, his face etched with concern. What's going on here? He asked, his voice firm but calm. Several shoppers quickly explained the situation, recounting Kevin's accusation and Arthur's revelation. Mr. Miller listened intently, his expression growing more serious with each passing moment. When they finished, Mr. Miller turned to Arthur, his eyes filled with respect. Mr. Peterson, he said, using Arthur's last name, I am so sorry you had to experience this. I know you've been a loyal customer for many years, and I value your patronage. I also know about your service to our country. You are a true hero. He then turned to Kevin, his voice stern. Kevin, we'll discuss this later. Right now, make sure Mr. Peterson gets whatever he needs. Mr. Miller was very upset that this had happened in his store. He prided himself on running a friendly and welcoming place. Mr. Miller then turned his attention back to Arthur. Mr. Peterson, please allow me to personally assist you with your shopping today. And as a token of our apology, your groceries are on the house. He offered Arthur his arm, and together they began to gather the items Arthur needed. As they walked through the aisles, Mr. Miller chatted with Arthur, asking about his family and his time in the service. He knew that Arthur rarely spoke about his wartime experiences, but today, Arthur seemed more willing to share. He spoke of his fellow soldiers, the hardships they faced, and the sacrifices they made. Mr. Miller listened with rapt attention, his respect for Arthur growing with each passing word. At the checkout, Mr. Miller made sure Arthur's groceries were bagged carefully. He even added a box of Arthur's favorite cookies to the bag, a small gesture of goodwill. Mr. Miller wanted to make sure Arthur left the store feeling valued and appreciated. He wanted to make up for Kevin's mistake. As Arthur prepared to leave, Mr. Miller insisted on helping him to his car. He carefully carried the bags, ensuring that Arthur could walk safely with his cane. Several other shoppers, witnessing the scene, offered their assistance as well. Let me get that door for you, sir, a young woman said, rushing ahead to open Arthur's car door. Thank you, Arthur replied, his voice filled with gratitude. That's very kind of you. Another shopper helped Mr. Miller load the groceries into the trunk. Thank you for your service, sir, he said to Arthur, shaking his hand warmly. We appreciate everything you've done for our country. Arthur smiled, touched by the outpouring of support. He realized that, despite the initial misunderstanding, the community had rallied around him, showing him respect and appreciation. He felt a renewed sense of belonging and connection. He was proud of his service. He was grateful for the kindness of strangers. He felt like he was part of something special. Kevin watched as Arthur drove away, his heart filled with a mixture of relief and lingering regret. He knew that he had a lot to learn about his job and about people in general. He vowed to never again judge someone based on appearances or assumptions. Later that day, Mr. Miller spoke with Kevin privately. He explained the importance of treating all customers with respect and understanding, regardless of their age or appearance. He emphasized the need for patience and careful observation before jumping to conclusions. Kevin listened intently, absorbing every word. He understood that he had acted rashly and that his actions had caused unnecessary pain and embarrassment. He promised Mr. Miller that he would do better in the future. He would be more observant, more patient, and more respectful. He would learn from his mistakes and become a better security guard. He wanted to earn back Mr. Miller's trust. He wanted to be a good person. Back at his home, Arthur sat in his favorite armchair, a warm cup of tea in his hand. He thought about the events of the day, replaying them in his mind. He felt a pang of sadness, remembering the humiliation he had experienced. But he also felt a sense of gratitude for the kindness of Mr. Miller and the other shoppers. He opened the box of cookies that Mr. Miller had given him and took a bite. The sweet taste filled his mouth, bringing a smile to his face. He thought about Kevin, the young security guard. He hoped that Kevin had learned a valuable lesson and that he would treat others with more respect in the future. Arthur also felt a surge of pride, thinking about his service in the Korean War. He hadn't spoken about his experiences in many years, but today, he had felt compelled to share his story. He was proud of the sacrifices he had made for his country. He was grateful for the freedom he had helped to protect. He was a veteran, and he was proud of it. He felt a sense of peace. In the weeks that followed, Kevin became a different person. He approached his job with a newfound sense of empathy and understanding. He took the time to get to know the regular customers, learning their names and their stories. He treated everyone with respect, regardless of their age, appearance, or background. He made a point of being extra helpful to elderly customers, offering to assist them with their shopping and carrying their groceries to their cars. He became known for his kindness and his willingness to go the extra mile. The customers noticed the change in Kevin, and they appreciated his efforts. They saw that he had learned from his mistake and that he was genuinely trying to be a better person. They began to trust him and to see him as a valuable member of the community. Kevin felt good about himself. He felt like he was finally making a difference. He was proud of the changes he had made. He knew he still had a lot to learn, but he was committed to continuing on this path. He wanted to be a positive influence. Arthur continued to shop at Miller's grocery, and each time he did, he made a point of acknowledging Kevin. At first, their interactions were brief and somewhat awkward, but over time, they developed a friendly acquaintance. Kevin would always greet Arthur with a warm smile and offer to help him with his shopping. He would ask about Arthur's health and his family, showing genuine interest in his well-being. Arthur, in turn, would share stories about his life and his experiences, offering Kevin words of wisdom and encouragement. They talked about many things. Sometimes they talked about the weather. Sometimes they talked about sports. Sometimes they talked about the news. Arthur came to realize that Kevin was actually a very nice young man. One day, Arthur saw Kevin helping an elderly woman load her groceries into her car. He watched as Kevin carefully lifted the heavy bags, ensuring that she could get into the car safely. Arthur smiled, knowing that Kevin had truly changed. He was proud of the young man. He was glad that he had been able to play a part in his transformation. He was grateful for the friendship they had formed. A few months later, Mr. Miller decided to organize a small ceremony to honor Arthur for his service. He invited local veterans, community members, and even the local newspaper. He wanted to show Arthur how much the community appreciated him. The ceremony was held in the parking lot of Miller's grocery on a sunny Saturday afternoon. A small stage was set up, decorated with American flags and patriotic banners. Mr. Miller spoke about Arthur's bravery and his dedication to his country. He presented Arthur with a plaque, recognizing his service in the Korean War. Several other veterans spoke, sharing their own stories of sacrifice and camaraderie. They thanked Arthur for his service and for being an inspiration to them all. Kevin stood at the edge of the crowd, watching with pride. He knew that he had played a part in bringing this recognition to Arthur. He was grateful for the opportunity to witness this special moment. He felt a sense of belonging and connection to the community. He felt proud to be a part of something so meaningful. He was happy for Arthur. After the ceremony, Kevin approached Arthur, his heart filled with gratitude. "Mr. Peterson," he said, his voice sincere, "I just wanted to thank you. Thank you for forgiving me, and thank you for teaching me such a valuable lesson." Arthur smiled warmly. "You're welcome, Kevin," he replied. "We all make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them and to move forward." He paused, then added, "I'm proud of the man you've become, Kevin. You've shown that you have a good heart, and that's what really matters." Kevin shook Arthur's hand, his eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you, sir," he said again. "That means a lot to me." From that day forward, Arthur and Kevin's friendship deepened. They continued to see each other regularly at Miller's grocery, sharing stories, offering support, and learning from one another. They had both learned a valuable lesson about the importance of respect, understanding, and forgiveness. Their unlikely friendship became a symbol of hope and unity in the community. It was a friendship built on forgiveness. It was a friendship built on understanding. It was a friendship built on respect. And so, the story of Arthur, the elderly veteran mistaken for a thief, and Kevin, the eager security guard who learned a valuable lesson, became a local legend. It was a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that everyone deserves to be treated with respect and understanding. Miller's grocery became known as a place where kindness and compassion thrived. It was a place where people looked out for one another and where differences were celebrated. It was a place where community truly mattered. The story was often retold to new employees, reminding them of the importance of empathy and the power of forgiveness. It served as a constant reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can make a big difference in someone's life. Arthur and Kevin's friendship continued for many years, a testament to the transformative power of forgiveness and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Their story lived on. Their story was one of hope. Their story was one of redemption. Their story was one of love.